Welcome to the 5D Shift podcast with Openhand. It's where we take a higher dimensional perspective at the tremendous transformation, changes going on the planet right now, and work to make sense of it, especially at these times of challenge, to ease suffering, to add clarity and illumination, to see that the light is emerging from the density. In this episode, what I'd like to look at is how we have this conflict with materiality that's brewing up, boiling up on the surface of our planet, of our reality, of our society. Yet at the same time, that's happening because of an emergence of consciousness, and you've got a 5D crystalline grid, which is downloading energy from the sun, from the galaxy, which we can also tune into. And it's this elevation of energy which is breaking the shadow down, stirring it up. So it's crucial that we see, appreciate, feel the light through the darkness so as to transform our lives. Because right now we're living in two worlds, not one. And it's essential that we tune into the emergent light of the higher paradigm. Stay with me. I'll be right back in a moment. We've entered a pivotal moment in Earth's history. People in all walks of life are waking up and challenging the 3D shadow system. They're turning away from the fake stream, going inwards and igniting the passion of their soul. We're shifting consciousness into 5D. What does that mean exactly? How and when will it happen? Openhand is a higher dimensional ascended master consciousness working to illuminate the pathway forwards through the stormy transition. But this is never about telling you the truth. It's about offering essential insights into the shift, tools, meditations, and spiritual practice so you can realize your own truth. Because ascension to 5D is something only you can actualize for yourself. Get involved. Explore, inquire, expand, liberate your soul. The First Nations elders spoke of a time of conflict with materiality, a time, a period in the great cosmic cycles which have been witnessed before. What are these? What is actually going on? Well, we have a reality construct which forms from the quantum field, and it's based on a collective learning, inquiring, evolving cycle. How, for example, can we have different viewpoints, different experiences of divinity, and yet honor each and every one, not to dishonor or fight or try for one particular belief system or experience or spirituality to try to override or control another. That might be a learning experience, for example. How can I honor your truth even though I disagree with it? And so these inquiries, everything is consciousness. You have an inquiry that you haven't fully realized or integrated, and that builds density around it. It builds light, which then slows down in vibration, and you start to see the actualization of that inquiry all around you, meaning there will be dark aspects of it, there will be light aspects of it. So you get to work through your own reactivity and your own unconsciousness in those situations and circumstances. This is what we have right now, which is boiling up on the planet. We have a confrontation with human investment in the old 3D construct, fighting with one another essentially in some areas to control either land, to exert power, or manipulate, control resources. This is an ongoing challenge we've faced throughout history, or else working to impress a particular viewpoint on the majority. Well, now there's an activation of light where more and more people are reclaiming their own sovereignty. And what this means is you've got a reaction by the controllers, those who've manipulated or pulled the strings of reality for aeons in different guises. They're reacting because they're afraid they're losing control as more people come awake in this grand shift that's happening. Or else there's a sense of greed. They think they can manipulate people, so there's a greater grab of land or power, a bigger slice of the apple, so to speak. So you've got that triggering off because there's an infusion of light. And we must work to see that, to see both sides of the coin. I could actually use a different metaphor, and I could liken things to an apple. And the apple is a great representation. Why? Because it is a great reflection of the torus, the toroidal field, the flower of life. So you have a spiral through the center of the singularity, which actually replicates, mirrors through our own being, going through the chakras. You have that, and that crystallizes as the vibration slows down, as the layers of the apple out from the vortex. And that can be considered separation consciousness, but you also have the pull of unity consciousness drawing and crystallizing a reality together. The point is, it's all one. Where there is convolution, where there is darkness, density, and let's say misunderstanding, or identification with the physical, with the material, then you get the dinged part of the apple. You get the dense part that eventually breaks down and unravels. But the thing is, the point to bear in mind is one is an aspect of the other. It's all one. So it's crucial to work to see past this duality, because as the torus reanimates itself and reestablishes itself in the quantum field, then what you get is the revelation of the shadow. You get it boils to the surface, you witness it, and it's in that conflict with materiality of which the First Nations spoke. It's in that conflict of materiality that we feel the activation of the shadow, and there's the invitation then to unravel, to work through it. We see what's going on in reality on the surface, like for example in the Middle East, and you feel your reactivity. Now the crucial part is to realize, reach a fractal of this grand unraveling process. So it's going to impact us internally, physically, emotionally, mentally as we witness what we're witnessing. Yet, how do we deal with that? How do we bring our weight to bear in the resolution of this conflict, this confrontation inside ourselves, because we are a fractal of it? So you're going to feel, because it's one field, it's one morphogenic field, you're going to feel that triggering inside of you, and it's going to boil up in relationships, projection, judgment, all these kinds of things. People not honoring your truth around you, you're going to see that bubbling up, and we see it across social media and the fake stream, for example. So you feel it bubbling up, and the crucial thing then is to recognize how is it impacting me? Is that who I really am? Do I wish to be owned by the reactivity of the material? Because as we emerge from the density and into the reestablishment of the torus, it's the recognition that this is the transformation to our God self, the God self within us. It's where we confront the materiality so as to break through and expand, emerge out. This is what the grand cycles are moving us through and toward. It's the exposure of the shadow, of the disconnect, of the us feeling distanced or separate from our divinity. Instead, the invitation to transcend internally and unravel out. So where it's thrust in your face, like on on the internet, in social media, for example, where it's thrust into your face, well, that's the golden opportunity to say, you know, I see that happening. I honor what's going on in that old 3D reality, but that doesn't define who I am. I am more than that. I am a spiritual being. I am interconnected with these grand cosmic cycles. And so I choose to transcend, unravel through, and emerge out. And this speaks into every single aspect in my life, whether it's how I live and work, whether it's in relationships. It speaks into every single aspect because we're interconnected through the morphogenic fields. And so I get to decide who I am in relation to it. I face these transformational times with my orientation to the emergence and the expression of that. That's the grand opportunity that faces us. So on the one side of the coin is the challenge, the breakdown of the materiality, which will happen over time progressively, and likewise the emergence into this new consciousness. You're not going to get this new without the breakdown of the old. So don't just think necessarily that it's going to become all roses and light straight away, because it's not. We have to see the revelation of the shadow, of the veils, so we can call it, so we can point to, well, that's not us, it's an old consciousness. I will not concur or go with or be defined by that duality. Instead, I determine who I am in relation to it all, and I go with that. Now, always when you get in society the revelation of the shadow, or one side of the coin, you'll get the other as well. And so right at this time, I'm seeing some strong synchronicities and feeling an activation of higher dimensional energy, especially within the 5D crystalline grid. What is that? Well, it's a super consciousness field that has been called crystalline because it's anchored, if you like, by crystalline structure in the earth, yet it's a dancing weave of light in 5, 6, and 7D. Right now, we're witnessing the 5 and 6D. One is you could visualize, feel it as a dancing blue light, and the other one as a golden light. And these are working, interrelating. They're downloading energy from the galaxy and also from the sun. And these are positioned, this is positioned around the earth. And when you get into the higher chakras, then you can feel it and you can harness it and amplify it into your life. Powerful synchronicities are happening right now to reflect that that's going on. So at the time of this increasing hostility in the physical, we're also seeing a ring of fire moon, an eclipse, a ring of fire eclipse. Now it's interesting when you look at it, because you can see the moon eclipsing the sun, but interestingly, because it's such a glowing band of golden light, it looks like the sun is eclipsing the moon. That's how I see it. So you've got this activation of energy, which is also eclipsing the shadow. I guess you could say it depends on how you look at it, whether you're seeing more the shadow or you're seeing more the light. But fascinating that you've got this concurrently happening with this emergence, this activation of conflict on the planet. And so you've got the light coming in, and it's being symbolized through that synchronicity too. Now, interestingly, this ring of fire moon is being ruled or governed by Venus. Now, that's fascinating. Why? Well, firstly, Venus went through its own huge consciousness shift many moons ago. And there are a group of beings, a civilization that exists on Venus right now in 5, 6, 7D. And when you tune in, you can actually feel them. It's a feeling of unconditional love, acceptance, warmth, upliftment. a wisdom that says, look, we see what you're going through. We've been through this before. Can we lend a hand? So first of all, they're coming through really strongly, and this is being reflected in this ring of fire moon, which Venus is governing. But also, I'm seeing another synchronicity around the numerology 10. Now, way back in the Openhand calendar, a couple of years ago, we were looking at how 10 star-being nations are gathering, convening around the earth at this time to support the upliftment and emergence of human consciousness. Well, they have had some challenges, and the various levels of intervention, like tall white interference, has stopped them from drawing close. So, for example, we didn't get such a tremendous crop circle season that you would usually see, where they're communicating through sacred geometry. We didn't get that so much this time. Instead, we were shown more the moon, what it's doing, how it's been controlling the morphogenic fields, but also how that is being revealed, illuminated, and a clear sign that that would change and diminish over time. So we were shown that through this season's summer crop circles. Well, what I'm being shown now is that the civilization on Venus are acting as a bridge to the star-being nations, a bridge into this solar system. That's the feeling of it. That's what's coming through. And so although the star beings have been a degree distant, they are there, they are with us, they witness what's going on, and we can tune in. We can connect, and we can start downloading these energies from the 5D crystalline grid and higher. So both sides of the coin, and we must start to reflect and realize this is happening. Let's be clear about the timeline, the Ascension timeline. So although everything is blowing up right now, so to speak, we still have plenty of time left. I get the sense that you'll have this bringing to the surface, this blowing up of materiality, which we're seeing. We saw it through the bogus pandemic. We've seen it through the assault on the resources and energy chains. We see it in the financial sector. We're now seeing it in a physical materiality within the hostilities. But there's also growing awakening and pushback, and you're seeing that on many levels as well. So a lot of people have seen the terrorism, the first attack on Israel, but now others are rejecting, opposing the high-handed revenge, essentially, against the population in Gaza. So people are resisting that, and Israeli people, Jewish people too. You can feel the sense that we're wanting to move beyond this duality, and that is bubbling to the surface as well as the consciousness elevates, illuminates, accelerates. And so what I sense is that after some time, you'll get a settling. So we have another cycle, we have time to go through. At the moment, what seems to be happening is the emergence, the activation, the triggering is happening with the sunspot cycle. We go into a maximum over the next couple of years, and then the energy declines for some time over an 11-year period before then accelerating again. And this would converge with my sense, my feeling, that the grand galactic convergence has around 2 decades, a little more, to run before the culmination with the solar micronova event. It feels like that's the cycle we're moving through. And so it's important that we keep our minds, our eyes, our feeling sense on the emergence of consciousness, because it is going to trigger the shadow, it is going to trigger fear and anxiety and worry, and that's understandable. And if it does, then we must work with it. We must turn into it, not try and drop it or ignore it, because that's the unconsciousness that we need to evolve and unravel through. That's the ego, which needs to be confronted and broken down so the God self can emerge and be experienced here and now, like the emergence from, let's say, the dinge side of the apple into a toroidal flower of life. That is what Kali Yuga and the completion of it essentially is about. And that, I believe, is what the First Nations saw as the conflict of materiality by the spiritual experience and the infusion of spirit or activation of spirit. This is what's going on. So let's work to de-energize the animosity, the triggering, the reactivity. We have time forwards, we have time to stabilize, we have time to integrate soul consciousness as we journey through this particular phase of the shift. Let's be clear, what is happening now on the world stage was to be expected, because the fabric of reality has woven within it systemic suffering. You haven't necessarily seen it unless you've been on the receiving end, but it's woven from that fabric of injustice, of have and have not, of singular truths trying to use dogma to impress upon others, removal of sovereignty. Humanity has experienced all of these things since the beginning of the intervention 250,000 years ago, when Homo sapiens was hybridized and brought in. These dynamics were systemic in the fabric of the construct we're living in. And people have kind of accepted it. You know, Homo sapiens is designed to hold a degree of inertia. If you can protect, it's about protecting the ego and not challenging it. That's one of the crucial dynamics we're having to face as these spiritual beings as we are emerging. So we've experienced systemic suffering. It's been held in place, but now that's being brought to the surface, activated. So we can decide to dispense with that at a consciousness level, to let it unravel and fall away. And that's what will happen as we move into and through these final phases of the shift. How are we to approach our lives then in this transforming dynamic which is going on? Well, of course, plenty of people have gone into reactivity, but others, especially in this community, the Openhand community, who know how to transition through, who know how to unravel through, those who are undertaking that kind of work, what's happening for them is they're experiencing a tremendous sense of creativity, of passion, of alchemy. People are taking up new pastimes, if you like, or things that bring the soul alive, whether that be creativity, whether it be music and art, whether it be writing, vlogging, blogging, whether it be opening or starting a new venture, going on pilgrimage or retreat that really accentuates the light that's coming through you. People are feeling that too. So as you've got the density on one hand, you've got the light breaking through and stirring up, generating, activating this creativity too. And it's absolutely marvelous to witness that happening. So it's not about hunkering down, far from that. It's about facing that challenge and deciding, well, I'm not that material being, that construct which is breaking down and coming to an end, but I am this new possibility, this new emergence, this new vibrancy, which wants to create with this new paradigm, which is already there. To be clear, we're living in two worlds, not one. The old is breaking down and the new is unraveling through and out. The two exist at the same time. You can't see it with 3D eyes necessarily, this emergent new consciousness. You can't necessarily see it, but you can feel it, and your higher chakras, as they open, are seeing the patterning, the weave through the old construct and connecting it up, joining the dots, so to speak, of this new paradigm which is coming through. And the more we can do that, the more we're going to actualize that in our lives. Yes, the shadow does at this time seem to control the resources, but be clear, it is only reacting to the shift itself. It is a part of the dinged aspect of the apple, way back to the Garden of Eden. What a powerful metaphor. And so as the light, as it emerges, as the flower of life of this apple reestablishes itself, well, the energy pulls on the fragmentation, pulls on the fabric of that and challenges it. They are reacting. They are not in control. It's either fear of losing resources or greed, the idea that they can grab more, whether it's power, whether it's land, whether it's control of people. Well, that's an illusion. They only feel like they're in control. They're not. And so these resources that are being manipulated, they are available for us all. We just need to create in a different way. Rather than chasing our tails within this construct, instead it is to open up and to channel the higher light, witness it through signs and synchronicity, numerology, sacred geometry. As I said, that bridge with the star-being nations is there for us right now. And it's coming through on different frequencies. Frequencies of willpower, strength, commitment, courage, spiritual stoicism. Frequencies of love, joy, just really expressing yourself no matter what, not being constrained by whatever machinations are appearing on the surface. Ones of interpretation, where you're witnessing the flow, the patterning through all events and circumstances. Diplomacy, you're honoring someone else's truth. It may be different from yours. They may even be being triggered by what's going on, but nevertheless, that means we need to meet them, see them, show them that they're honored, that their truth is respected, even though we disagree with it, and then hold the space for a higher reality, for a higher emergence to come through that honors all. This is the Ray 4. There's the Ray 5. And this is about recognizing in this context that it's all based on consciousness. Everything is consciousness. The physicality is consciousness. It's just arrayed in a particular form. If I break down the physicality, the materiality, then it's all energy at the end of the day. It's all frequency, it's all vibration. So as I appreciate that it's more flow, it's more movement, if I allow that fluidity in my life, then I can witness the weaving of the patterning of the flow around me, perhaps through sacred geometry. And as I witness it, it's actually taking shape from the field, from the morphic field around me. And as I've said, it's connecting into the 5D crystalline grid. And so we're able to download that energy as we transition forwards. Then there's a Ray 6, and we could say that's about sovereignty. So that's sovereignty of your own thought processes, your own expressions, your own determination, your own animation and actualization. You know, the religions, the dogmatism, it will control people, they will control people less and less. It's more about the individual expression of soul that will come to the fore. And that is the invitation right now for each of us. Then there's the Ray 7. It's that of alchemy. It's that of creativity, spontaneous materialization from the crown chakra. So as we open into the space of not knowing, because that's what it depends upon, then miracles, mystery, and magic can just take form and take shape out of the field. If you can hold an open space, especially as the materiality is swirling around you, especially as it's demanding an immediate reaction, if instead you hold the open space in that, then you're going to find some tremendous, unexpected mystery or miracle is going to happen. It'll just click into place. you hardly know you're creating it yourself. And so by being in that, then we're going to create new possibilities and pathways through this density. Now we've also got higher frequencies. We've got the ray 8. We could say this is the divine paternal. It's that rock solid, trustworthy, anchored kind of energy. Again, you could say this is reflected in spiritual stoicism, which people are feeling more, anchored in that, not reacting emotionally and mentally to what's going on, but really staying in this emergence of the God self consciousness, because that's what this is really all about. The conflict with materiality is the conflict of the smallness of the ego and the invitation to break that down and emerge out as these sovereign God self beings. That's the process that's unfolding, one into the other. They're both interrelated. There is non-duality within this evolving, emerging dynamic of the separation consciousness. There's still the uniqueness of me as a soul in relation to other souls, and in relation to the reality, and an invitation to express that, but we're all interconnected in the morphogenic fields through non-duality. And so the shadow I have a fractal of that shadow in me, or else I wouldn't be here, and an invitation to unravel out of that. It's where there's some requirement for increased clarity and illumination. And so we each have that, and as we unravel in our own lives, then we precipitate, ripple that through the field to other people too, and the wider construct as it transforms. And then we've got the divine maternal on the ray 9. And that is this very loving, compassionate, non-judgmental, holding the space for us to evolve, emerge through, holding the resonance, holding the energy that we can rely upon, that we can trust on, and feel comforted by as we transition through this. And so these star-being nations, whether they're from Lyra, Andromeda, Arcturus, whether from Pleiades, from Draco, aligned Draco, from Sirius, and from Venus, these beings, these groups are resonating those frequencies. Let's not forget that. Let's not, shut down at the emergence, the activation of the shadow, because the light is causing that breakdown. We must see that non-duality in this case. So it's coming alive. The invitation is for it to come alive in us as the density progressively breaks down. And so that's what's going on now. That's this, we can say, war or conflict with the materiality, which is happening in us, which is happening widely through the field, which is happening in all different aspects of the structure of society. We're seeing that, we're seeing the revelation of the shadow, the duplicity of that, but that's the invitation, the mirror to work through, to unravel through and let go of. That's the emergence through this Kali Yuga that the Hindus have spoken of. With that in mind, I'd like to conduct a short meditation to grasp the sense of transcendence through these layers, through the density, to support the emergence of light and the connection with the 5D crystalline grid. It can only be a short meditation, so it's really an inspiration. If you find you resonate with this kind of approach, then do come and get involved with the Openhand work, because it's something we're working with consistently through the events and courses, retreats that we hold. So with that in mind, bring attention into the breath. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. And as you place your attention at the back of the throat, already feeling the sense of expansion, of transcendence of the material. might be a subtle shift, but that's entirely okay. That's all it requires in the beginning. And then close the mouth, tongue in the top of the mouth, inhale, exhale through the nose, but the attention in the back of the throat. So you feel this expansion through the throat chakra, the bridge into the 5D crystalline grid. Now bring your attention to the base chakra. Inhale in the base at the back of the spine. Inhale into the chakra. Hold for a moment or two without tightness. And then exhale through. And just reflect upon the density for a moment. Maybe in your own life. Or maybe what you witness on the world stage. But feel the unraveling through that. Feel the light coming through. So the physical becomes more of a wave-like experience. Because it is consciousness. It's not rigid and solid. But it has a wave-like flow underlying it. And we can soften our investment, our attachment, our identification with that. Inhale, exhale, let go. Through, breathe through, unravel through. And now the sacrum, back of the spine. Inhale, hold a moment, and then exhale through. And this is the plane of emotions. A lot of reactivity at the moment. Feeling a steadying sense, a calming sense through the chakra. This has happened a zillion times before, and we have been through many of these shifts before. So work to relax in it. You were seated here for this. You were seated here to unravel through and blaze a trail of light through it. Solar plexus, inhale, exhale, unravel through. This is the plane of intellect, the plane of dogmatism, the plane of rigidity, the plane of egoic smallness, the belief in our smallness as opposed to our divine self, unraveling through, feeling our interconnectivity as the field takes shape, forms in patterning. Witnessing, observing that more, experiencing that more. And now the heart, inhale, exhale through. Finding empathy, understanding, compassion for others, even though they hold a different perspective and truth. And yet honoring your own perspective without energy, without aggression, without trying to impose on anyone. The simple, steady, anchored expression of your own truth. Working to de-energize that coherency, accuracy, sophistication of expression. Throat chakra, inhale, exhale. As we break the rigidity down of how we create, instead opening more to this higher dimensional consciousness which speaks through us in numerology, sacred geometry, patterning, shaping, trusting in that expansive energy of the God Self to create. We're living in those two worlds, seeing through the clouds of the old materiality to open to this infusing higher dimensional consciousness. Third eye, inhale, exhale. Unraveling any sense of control by the external and activating, standing, centering in your sovereignty. And really we're drawing on the galactic core for this. The longevity, the eternal nature, its wisdom, our interconnection with it. And into the crown, inhale, exhale. Letting go of control and opening the space. That doesn't mean giving up. Letting go of control to open space for mystery, miracles, magic, alchemy to come through. What's that sudden flash that comes in that says, let's go in this direction now? What do you see? What do you witness? Open to that possibility. We're feeling also in the 8th, the stoicism of the divine paternal, the anchoring that we're a part of in that God self. And above that, the divine maternal, loving, caring, nurturing, looking after. The sense of that, the energies within you, and these being resonated, amplified by the star being nations around us. Invite them in, invite them to connect. And bear in mind this bridge to Venus, a civilization which has gone through the shift and is lending its hand, support and reflection and love. Trust in that, call on that. You'll feel it as subtle vibrations within you. This is how we can work going forwards. So to summarize, there are two sides of the coin right now. You're seeing the density and the construct, the shadow being stirred up and activated. It's very distracting, it's very compelling. It pulls people in through the stories, through the drama. I'm not saying it's not happening. I'm not saying it's not going on. Yes, it is. The injustice and systemic suffering of the aeons is being brought to the surface. The crucial thing is, it was there anyway. It was there anyway. That's the fabric of the reality. Now we're seeing it. Now we're paying attention to it rather than just letting it control things because it was convenient. Now we're seeing it. Now we're calling it. And more people are waking up to challenge it. And they're doing so because of this grand galactic convergence with the higher dimensions and the alignment with the new energies of the sun and the galaxy, and specifically around the Earth, the activation of the 5D crystalline grid. So trust in that, work with it, work to bring it and channel it into your life, because then you're going to see the other side of the coin. You're going to see the energy coming in, you're going to see it weaving, it's transforming the materiality of the old and creating it in a new way through signs, synchronicity, sudden things that happen, connections, knowings that take you in a certain direction. Respond to that. Unravel the rigidity and the inertia which gets in the way. Let it go, let it break down as the old materiality is. And then go with this emergent flow that you can feel progressively coming through you. Everything looks very excited and animated right now, but I have the sense it will calm down to some degree because of the pushback that's going on. It may take a while longer, but ultimately I believe it will calm down. We still have time. We still have time to work and transition through in this Ascension timeline, the 1111 activation code. We still have time. We're seeded for this. We're ready for it. We just have to be committed to it, turn into it, lend our weight to it, lend our consciousness to it, and we will come through much more smoothly and in a more fulfilled and accomplished a sophisticated way. That's what I really want to say. Sophisticated way. So, I wish you well. Keep working through. Let's keep supporting each other. Let's keep animating this tremendous emergence of consciousness, because that really is happening on the other side of the coin. I wish you well. Namaste. Been inspired? Then get involved with the revolutionary work of Openhand. Join us on seminars and retreats, online and terrestrial, for groundbreaking meditations, illuminating self-realizations, and plenty of fun. It's all supporting the great planetary shift to 5D consciousness. Join kindred spirits today. Visit openhandweb.org.